Deadly floods in Texas have claimed at least 129 lives, over 160 are still missing. Families are searching, waters are rising, and the nation is watching. President Trump calls his response incredible, but critics, FEMA insiders, and flood experts say otherwise. This is more than a disaster, it's a political reckoning. Across central and southeast Texas, relentless rainfall turned highways into rivers and homes into islands. Towns like Bastrop, Liberty, and parts of Houston remain underwater. Local emergency responders have described the scene as apocalyptic. Search and rescue teams continue to comb wreckage, often with limited communication or power. Helicopters airlift stranded families from rooftops. Volunteers in kayaks and boats are doing what they can to reach remote areas. As of this report, 129 are confirmed dead. Many drowned after being trapped in mobile homes or vehicles. The state reports at least 160 individuals still unaccounted for. Among the dead are children, the elderly, and several workers from undocumented communities, many of whom lived in isolated flood-prone camps. A harrowing number of emergency shelters are now overwhelmed, with reports of food and water shortages coming from temporary aid stations. Despite forecasts issued days in advance, Texas' aging flood warning infrastructure offered little protection or time to evacuate. In one striking example, a local report revealed that Texas couldn't find $1 million to fund a critical flood alert system near vulnerable labor camps now submerged. Amid the growing crisis, President Donald Trump traveled to Austin this week. He toured flood zones, met with first responders, and addressed the media. Standing beside piles of debris and armed National Guard troops, Trump declared, quote, "We did an incredible job and continue to do an incredible job as we always do." His comments quickly drew backlash. On social media, critics called the remarks tone-deaf, pointing to overwhelmed shelters and ongoing delays in FEMA response. Trump was joined by First Lady Melania Trump, who spoke with victims' families and visited emergency shelters. Her remarks focused on healing and community. However, the visit came just days after several emergency response teams reported gaps in federal support. Many blamed FEMA leadership turmoil for the bottlenecks. Sources inside FEMA revealed that key regional directors were either recently dismissed or had resigned, leaving coordination efforts stalled during peak emergency hours. The leadership vacuum comes amid Trump's push to replace longtime FEMA officials with political allies. Critics say the agency is now more reactive than proactive. Texas officials say they've requested full federal disaster declaration funding but were told the White House has yet to finalize approval. The optics of the Texas visit differ significantly from Trump's previous disaster responses. Notably, his muted stance on Puerto Rico and Hurricane Laura still linger in public memory. Opposition voices, including prominent Democrats and former FEMA chiefs, argue that the administration underestimated the risk and overestimated its own readiness. Beyond FEMA delays, new scrutiny has emerged over why so many people were housed in known flood zones, especially temporary labor camps. Texas' booming agriculture and construction industries rely heavily on seasonal migrant labor. Many of these camps were placed in low-lying, high-risk areas. Advocacy groups say repeated warnings were ignored. Records show at least 3 previous flood events in the same regions, yet no relocation or safety upgrades followed. Public health concerns are also mounting. Contaminated floodwaters have led to outbreaks of waterborne illness in multiple counties. Meanwhile, local and state agencies say they lacked the budget to build sufficient barriers, flood channels, or evacuation routes for these vulnerable zones. The now debunked plan for a regional flood warning network costing only $1 million has become a symbol of government inaction. Had it been funded, experts say hundreds could have received alerts up to 12 hours earlier. Instead, families woke up with water at their doorstep or already rushing in. As the disaster unfolded, another storm was brewing online. Far-right influencers and conspiracy forums have blamed the floods on weather modification and climate weapons. One viral claim, shared over 300,000 times, alleged that the flooding was orchestrated using government satellites, an idea firmly debunked by NASA and NOAA. Experts worry that disinformation campaigns are undermining emergency communications, especially when trust in federal agencies is already shaken. These conspiracies distract from the real causes: infrastructure neglect, environmental mismanagement, and delayed federal responses. At a time when coordination and trust are essential, misinformation adds another layer of danger to already desperate communities. Despite all this, countless stories of heroism continue to emerge: neighbors saving neighbors, strangers risking lives, volunteers organizing grassroots relief efforts. But the system is strained. Long-term recovery will require billions in federal aid, strategic FEMA reform, and a commitment to upgrading early warning systems. And the question remains, can Trump's administration, embroiled in controversy and internal reshuffling, rise to meet the challenge before the next storm hits? This flood was a natural disaster, but what followed was political. For more coverage like this, make sure to subscribe, like, and share, and let us know in the comments. Do you think FEMA is prepared for the next crisis?